You know what, Ban? You should try and get like sports. You love it.
Wait, maybe my Wi-Fi is slow because your thing was broken up then as well. Maybe it's me.
You know what, Ban? You should try and get like sports.
All got the bad Wi-Fi today for real.
Can you hear me now? Am I good?
Yeah, I hear you.
Some esports events jobs.
You guys are now live.
Right, perfect.
You're now live on not Channel 4. You're live on
Can you hear me now?
MYM. So have fun, guys.
Some esports events.
Wait, it's cooks. All right, I think we're all good. All right, let's do this. So I hope you guys are all well. Those of you also watching live as well. I think let's go and just introduce ourselves. So I'm Rue. I'm hosting this live today. I was on PRU doing location marshalling, but that's not who we're here for. We're here for the camera department. So Bani, could you just introduce yourselves, just talk a little bit about what your role was and just, yeah, what that kind of entails?
What that entails as well, or just introduce ourselves?
Just a little bit on what it entails, but
okay, sure.
Mainly it's an introduction type thing.
Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Bani, and I was the director of photography on PRU. This same team shot the pilot and series 1 as well, so we were across both of them. And director of photography / cinematographer, same thing, is in the UK, it's often sort of a lighting cameraman. So you set the tone visually for the piece in collaboration with your team, being namely the director, art department, costume. So you work together to create an aesthetic that you think best suits the story and the script. And then you bring that to fruition through angles and different coverage. So it's like setting the mood. In America, the director of photography often doesn't operate the camera and it's separated out, and you mostly focus on the lighting, but you still will be across how the frame should look, and then you just collaborate with additional people. And Devon was first AC on PRU, so
yeah, we got Devon. Could you introduce yourself?
So my name is Devon. I was the first AC, otherwise known as the focus puller. So basically, on the big, cinema cameras that we use don't have autofocus, and so there's a person like me whose job it is to put the where the director wants it. That's like one of the core responsibilities, but also I build the camera, I help run the camera department. So the second AC or the trainee, like Isaac, making sure the rest of the crew has the monitors with the pictures on, they can see what's going on, and yeah, just help generally assist Bani as the DFP and allow him to do his job to the best of his abilities.
All right, perfect. And finally, but not least, Isaac.
My name is Isaac Bokoko. I was the camera trainee on PRU. Kind of my roles and responsibilities vary of like making sure the monitors are all set up, just assisting as a whole, like Devon and Andre, the second AC. And also I'm just there to learn, hence the name camera trainee. So I'm just there to also take in everything from Devon, Andre, and also Bani, as well as making sure everything like the monitors and stuff are all charged and the batteries are all good.
Perfect. Well, I think just hopping straight into some questions. So Bani, I've actually been wondering this for a while because I've not been able to ask you, but what was your route into the industry and like what kind of got you to where you are now?
Wow.
Start with a big.
Jesus. Okay. Practical steps rather than like my sort of thing, really. Like, do you mean you're asking me like, are you asking me in a practical sense of like?
Not necessarily, it's an open question, like whether like what it was that kind of got you to go down this avenue of film or
Yeah, sure.
or a practical sense, like.
All right, so like I guess well, first of all, I never knew what a director of photography was, really. I knew someone held the camera, but up until a late stage as technically a filmmaker, like running around London with my sort of PD 150 and a bunch of different cameras like Sony Z1s and stuff before all of these great digital cameras came out. We had these sort of older sort of 3CCD chip basic cameras. It was either that or it was film, and that was it really. There wasn't really a cheap low budget way of making a digital film unless you were genius enough to do something like Blair Witch, which lent into the strengths of a more low budget camera, which not many people were, obviously. So I made a lot of documentaries. I just went around London, and my friends were into grime. Like my little brother was a grime artist, and then my cousin had like an old school garage and then a grime pirate radio station. And so I used to just go filming clashes at all the youth clubs around North London, Northwest London, West London, East London, mainly. So I just went around filming clashes and just kind of like gathering hundreds of hours of material on these little DV tapes. And it took as long as the tape was to log it. So to log the footage.
I've been doing that a lot recently. I've just been getting my mini DV tapes out and that, but.
Yeah. So after about 2 years, I had most of the stuff logged. And then there was this whiz kid from Hackney who taught me how to edit a little bit better than what I already knew on Final Cut back in the day. And I used to go to a place called Whack Arts on weekends. And they used to let me use their edit suite whenever I wanted. So I used to just go there. Every day when I weren't filming, I was just in their edit suite practicing. And because none of my friends were interested in this. So at some point I realized I had to find people who would like do it with me, basically, because all my friends would always be a letdown. So I put this thing together. I turned it into a documentary. And then I made a little short film about a circle of trees on Hampstead Heath in North London that were magical. And when you step inside there, you're in like an alternate reality. And I shot that in sort of like night vision mode because it looked better than sort of in color on these rubbish little cameras. So I shot that and I shot this documentary. I cut together sort of a trailer for this crash documentary. And then I used that because I had no UCAS points to go to film school because I didn't get any A-levels. So one of my mentors was like, you need to go to film school. And I was like, go to school to learn how to make films. I'm already making films. I'm just out here with my camera. And she was like, no. There's like way more to it. And I was like, but I don't need no one else. I've just got me and my camera. It's cool. Anyway, she convinced me. So I done applications. A lot of film schools basically said no, because you don't have any UCAS points. But luckily for me, the film schools that were more technical minded and more interested in filmmakers rather than like, you know, people who write about films and write essays, they agreed to see me. So I went to the Arts Institute at Bournemouth and I showed them my show reel, and a guy called David Munns was the head of the course at the time. We had our back and forths, but I'll always love him for letting me into that film school because he saw my little documentary and my little short film, and he said, yeah, you're in, because I can't get a conditional offer because there are no UCAS points coming. So I'm either in or I'm not. So he said, like, you're in unofficially, I can't, you know, but you're in. So then I went to Bournemouth Film School. It took me 4 years to do a 3-year course, just because I was younger then and I was a bit different. And so I used to have a lot of back and forth with the tutors and whatnot. And I specialized as a director, and I directed for years. When I came out of film school, I was still a director. I set up a production company and I shot dozens, over 100 music videos for MTV, all across sort of all different networks. I traveled around the world shooting music videos as a director, but I would operate camera a lot, and I always operated camera, and I'd get quite heavily involved in the lighting until all the DPs that I worked with didn't want to work with me anymore because they said, look, man, you're a DP. Like, it's annoying working with you. Like, we're friends, but like, you should just be a DP. And I was like, nah, because I need to do this across the division and blah, blah, blah. Then the higher up I got and the more niche a job becomes, and the bigger the scope is of each job, where you can't really do everything. And the people that say they do everything, look at who their gaffers are, look at who the rest of their crew is. They work with geniuses and then pretend they do everything. They don't. Like, this is a collaborative effort. Like, I don't do a kit list without checking it with Devon. He's my AC, the focus puller. He's not just a focus puller. Like, he works with me from before I ever get anywhere near the set. Like, oh, what about this? What about that? And it actually is a collaboration that allows for more creative choices to be made. It's not just like technical stuff. Like, I like to work with people who have a creative vision and see the vision, because that means that when we're in the trenches and it's a really hard day and it's raining and, you know, everything's going against us, a technical person who only cares about the technical parts of the job and blah, 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 they just want to go home. And all they can think about is how they're getting a little bit wet and whatever. But then people who I work with, like Devon, like Isaac, we can just look at each other and laugh at the situation, because we know that our love for what we're doing is greater than that. So anyway, that's how I became a DP. It was a long, winding road. And when I became a DP, no one gave me a job, because they were like, but you're a director. And all my DP friends, like, and yeah, like all my friends, like, it just didn't work. It's like you just coming out and suddenly saying, oh, actually, I do this now. So no one worked with me. So I had to go right back to the beginning. None of my contacts even really worked, because they just didn't see me like that. Even your friends, like, and you can't blame them, because you have to prove yourself. So I took a massive risk, you know. I got kids and stuff. I had one kid at the time when I made the full switch and turned down all the directing work. And it was a massive risk. Like, I was like, how am I going to pay for everything and whatnot? And I didn't for a while. I struggled with stuff. I used credit cards. I did mad things. But I knew in the end it would work out. And now finally it's working out.
No, especially with the whole, like, how it is such a collaborative effort. You need to be able to work with the people that at the end of the day are totally on your vibe, like, because that does allow for you to be able to create something that is so much more cohesive as a unit. But yeah, that's really sick.
Bani, do you remember that day on PRU when we're in the alleyway and it rained?
That's exactly what I was thinking of when I was saying
that. Oh my God, that was bad. We were in this super tight alleyway, and there was so many extras, so many essays. There was so many people, costume, makeup, all the young people who were doing the like group of kids in the show. And we were stuck in this super tight alleyway, and it was pouring. The rain was coming down so hard. We've been outside this whole morning, and then everything was just soaked. Everyone was soaked. There wasn't enough umbrellas. You couldn't even get 2 umbrellas down the alleyway. So, like, if you had 2 umbrellas walking towards each other, you had to like fold them. Everyone was just, yeah. It was mad.
My waterproof jacket failed that day. I realised waterproof don't mean waterproof.
Yeah, it was bad.
More resistant.
Yeah, I was mad.
Well, okay, so Devon, I want to talk a similar kind of question, just kind of understanding how film came about for you and how you came to do what you do today.
Yeah. Again, not the straightest path. So I actually went to university and studied engineering, because, you know, you've got to go to university and do your studies. But I realised it was super boring. And although I could do it, I just didn't want to sit at a desk with a calculator forever. So then I got a job as doing VAR. So all you football fans, basically doing the cameras at sports events. If you watch Wimbledon recently, you know, you have the animation of the ball landing on the line, they challenge it and stuff. So I used to do that for badminton. Went to the Olympics to do beach volleyball. So yeah, just running the cameras at sports events, which was really my first exposure to working with cameras in a real world. Obviously, everyone has their DSLR or has their phone and snaps pictures, but that was my first, I guess, professional work. So I did that for a year and a half. But there was a lot of traveling to the sports events, obviously all over the world. So kind of got a bit sick of the traveling, and I was like, right, I'm going to try and get into, you know, traditional camera work. So I started traineeing, as Isaac's doing right now. And then I was like, God, this is tough. I don't know anything, so I'm just having to do all the legwork. So then I was like, right, I'm going to go to a rental house and learn all the kit. So I got a job at a rental house, did that for a year, and basically just spent every minute reading the manuals and troubleshooting problems, and basically just learning as much as I could. about what everything was. And then it meant when I did get on set afterwards, I knew what everything was called. I knew how everything went together. I knew how to work everything. So I was just super useful to the second AC or the focus puller, even as the trainee, because I just knew my stuff. So yeah, and then from there you just trainee, second AC or the loader, who's the guy who does the clapperboard. Shout out Andre from PRU. So yeah, and then first AC focus puller, and then you become a camera operator or a DOP. So yeah, just been assisting for a few years, and now I've started operating as well. So it's just a general progression. That's how the hierarchy kind of works. You don't have to go for every step, but trainee, loader, focus puller, camera operator is kind of a great path to know. And it means, if you've done all the steps, when you have someone like Isaac or a trainee below you, you can teach them all the right things because you've done it all yourself, So yeah.
That's a common theme. It does feel very quite non-linear, but there's like paths that a lot of people do tend to go down. But
yeah, the trainee, loader, focus puller, like the up the steps is the traditional thing you're supposed to do. But I think in recent years it's become people are breaking the mold and just jumping straight in as a DOP. And there's nothing wrong with that, because obviously, by the time if I ever did become a DOP, the time I got to that point, if you've been doing it since day one, you're going to have years ahead of me on it, right?
Yeah.
But I always think it's better to do even a little bit of each step, because then you really know how the whole
really need to learn how each role works in order to be able to utilize it to the maximum capability.
Yeah. And if you even as a director or a DOP, if you have an appreciation of how other people are working, then you know how long things take or what's difficult, what's not difficult,
But to understand how long it's going to realistically take a gaffer to change the lighting setup is so crucial as a DOP.
Yeah, and as Bani said, like, he was doing some editing, like, although he never will be an editor, having an understanding of how things look in the edit and how things cut or what could be a problem, what cannot be a problem, that all pays dividends, when you reach another level in the game.
Yeah. Okay, so Isaac, you've been with Fully Focused for how long now?
I think it's been like 3 years.
3 years. Okay, so similar age to me when I started.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it that actually got you to try and start doing film or into Fully Focused?
For me, what got me into Fully Focused and what got me into aspiring to be a DOP, I think it started from like a love for media and a love for like just the arts, creative arts. Then I happened to fall into Fully Focused, luckily, and I managed to get like a grasp of how film works, seeing like Bani, Teddy, the different behind the scenes of like a production, what goes on behind the production. It's not just a camera and a director, like it's a DOP, a cinematographer. There's a whole department within that. There's the first AC, there's the second AC, there's the camera trainee, what their individual roles contain, like all of that kind of stuff kind of roped me in. And then gradually I began to learn that, all right, I want to be part of like the camera department. Like, I don't want to just shoot my own stuff. Like kind of what Devin said, I want to learn each individual role and what consists of it and how can I improve. I think that's kind of like briefly how I got involved. I tried a little bit of everything, like editing, acting, even in front of the camera. But really and truthfully, what drew me in the most was camera. So that's what I kind of tried to begin to pursue then, going from like self-shooting freestyles to like doing little short films to now being a camera trainee on the camera department, learning from the more experienced guys.
Oh, damn. You answered kind of two of my questions there. I was going to ask about what your journey was with Fully Focused, but smash it. Okay, back to Bani. I want to just talk about what you think your favorite shot throughout the whole of PRU was to both shoot and block.
Tough one.
Yeah.
There's a difference between like what was my favorite thing to shoot and what I thought was going to be my favorite things versus like
the shot list
actually stuff looked like afterwards, and then what then becomes my favorite. Like if you ask me that question in prep, it would probably be a very different answer to then when I see the results and I'm like, oh no, like let's hide that shot. Also, the episodes are like 25 minutes. but we shot sort of between 35 and 40 minutes worth of material for each episode. So there's a lot of shots that I liked and scenes that I really liked that aren't even in any of the episodes. So, and I can't even really remember what they are now because I just haven't seen them in so long throughout the grades and stuff. But at first in the grades, I remember being like, oh man, that scene's gone. Oh, I really like the way that looked. Or sometimes, for example, I shot something and I really, 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 really loved it. But then performance on another take was better that we shot later on. And then we reshot the other way to match because the light had changed by then or whatever. And so it's not the magic that I had on set shooting certain things doesn't exist in the edit because so it's like because like what I remember shooting versus what I see in the edit are two different things. So I need to choose something from what everyone's seen. So then I'm thinking sort of
Ollie shot through the doorway.
Yeah.
Shot through the doorway of Belle and Jean.
I thought that's what you liked, yeah, the one with the running through the doorway.
Oh yeah, do you know what? That was really like, that was a lot of ingenuity, like, and that's something that I wouldn't do with just anyone. But like Devin and I, basically on the pilot, we were like, oh, we don't really have, we've done it on a few shoots now where we just get literally the most low budget track and dolly, right? Which is just like a briefcase dolly. There's no head or anything on it, right? And then Devin will literally help me. Like no one else trying to get Devin to do this. It's not right. Like you should hire a grip. But like when we're like, all right, we want to get this shot, but we can't afford this shot. How can we get the shot anyway? That's like the spirit of filmmaking, especially coming from the way I used to make films, climbing trees to get high up shots and make it look like a crane, lower the camera on a rope and stuff. Like I'll just do whatever to get the shot. So yeah, so this time we stepped it up a bit. We got like a Ronin rig, put it on a flatbed dolly, which is like the cheapest track and dolly you can get. But then it becomes a stabilized head with remote control. So now we've got a super expensive shot for, you know, no additional money. And so we built that on like short sticks or sometimes just on the, what's it called? The hi-hat, the like really just the head, the tripod head. And then we'd get these amazing sort of tracking dolly shots with remote control. So we could sort of, you know, adjust as we went along. So yeah, that was, those shots were some of my favorite shots. The one through the doorway I love the symmetry of that. And that was built in all the way from the beginning, all the way from the design, all the way from working with Teddy and Alex, who's the production designer, because we even like painted symmetry into that scene. It wasn't perfect for various reasons, you know, the building isn't straight, blah, 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 blah. But we were aiming for symmetry. And so, yeah, that was an enjoyable shot that was planned from the beginning, and then we pulled it off.
Shout out Ben Law, Dolly Grip, and Andre Pinto, Ronin Tech.
Yeah, Ben, our gaffer, he's got like some ice in his veins, and he can kind of do anything, right? And that's how I work. Like everyone on set can do everything, and everyone doesn't have an ego about what their job is. And we all just muck in, including me. Like if we need to get over there quick, I don't mind carrying the heaviest thing. Whatever needs to get done, we will just do it. And that's how we work. And Ben, I didn't even ask him to do this though. I'm not talking about gaffers pushing dollies. Like I wouldn't go that far, but Ben would. And that's part of the reason why I love him. And yeah, so he was super smooth on the dolly, and he literally dolly gripped it.
Wow. I mean, okay, so moving on, but speaking of just really unique kind of setups, this is kind of a joint one, but it was aimed more at Devon. How was it when Bani was on his roller skates doing that shot? I think it was when the kids ended up picking up the brownies. What was that saying for you?
I didn't even know Bani rode rollerblades until he started saying he's rolling. I thought he was joking when he first mentioned it. I was like, he's got to be taking the piss. And then he pulls out these rollerblades. I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. And again, like, I'd seen people do it on Instagram. You see a viral video, but I never seen it in the flesh. And yeah, never underestimate people, because you never know what skill sets people have. Never judge a book by its cover. Never, yeah, it was crazy. And it's one of them, like, you could do the same shot with a tracking vehicle and a Ukraine, these, expensive tools, or you can just put some rollerblades on and lose, be a nutter. So yeah, crazy.
I lost a job because of that.
He told me. He told me.
Basically, they spoke to my agent. She sent them some shots that I did in New York on rollerblades, filming a cyclist going really, really fast up First Avenue in New York. And so I pretty much had the job in the bag. And then at the last hurdle, they were like, the client is just asking about your experience with tracking vehicles. Obviously, we've seen these shots in New York, blah, 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 blah. And then because I was just honest about it and said, no, like, that was on rollerblades, they were like, what? So that wasn't a tracking vehicle? And I was like, no. And they were like, but then how did you get this shot? And I was like, I did it like this. And I kind of told them, but I know how to use a tracking vehicle. Like, that's not a problem. It just wasn't really applicable in this scenario. Unless you've got a Marvel budget, you're not shutting down First Avenue and doing all that. So, but yeah, and then I lost the job.
But it's important to have those skills that you can just ingrain into your like repertoire for as a DP. I think like you can rollerblade, or for me, I skateboard. Like you should be able. They should be fine with you using that. Doesn't. Anyway. Okay, so
no, I weren't trying to rollerblade on that new job. I would have used the tracking vehicle.
Oh, okay, you would have. Okay, that.
I can't rollerblade up a mountain. This was on a mountain. This other job.
Damn.
But fair enough. Whatever.
Okay, Devon. So, what would you say is a very important, like a couple of important skills you think is needed to be a first AC?
What skills to be a first AC? I think with all camera department, and I guess with other departments as well, we're all assisting roles. One of the most important skills, which I think most people don't have at first, but as you get better, it comes through, is basically thinking ahead. Like, it's like, I guess, the old adage of like a good chess player is thinking 5 moves ahead. I think that's the difference between like good assistants and really good assistants, is people who can foresee a problem before it's even happened and then stop it happening. Because the fundamentals are easy. Once you learn all the kit, I guess it takes time, but it's kind of easy. But if you can remember in the morning to check the weather report and then bring the waterproof stuff with you because you're not going to be near the unit base, or if you can, think, tomorrow, we're going to have an extra monitor, so we need to make sure we have extra batteries, or, we finished shooting and we didn't have any power in that location, so we didn't charge the batteries then, which means we've got to make sure we take them and charge them, or first thing in the morning we'll go in and charge them because otherwise we're going to get caught out the next day. It's basically just problem solving, ahead of time. That's one of the real key skills. But other than that, I think just communication, obviously, as a team sport, I guess, is a team activity, right? And no one person can do it by himself, So if you can communicate properly as a team and everyone does their role, that's one thing in film. Obviously, there's all these different positions, all the clapper loader, the focus puller, the trainee, the DOP, the spark, the gaffer, everyone. And it seems like there's a lot of people, which most people would maybe not realize so many people are involved, but it's because everyone has really one specific task they've got to focus their entirety on. And if everyone does their one task, everything just works, So communication and teamwork, again, I guess, is probably one of the most fundamental skills. Obviously, as folks, but as for me, sometimes the hardest, but sometimes the easiest part is the actual focus pulling. Obviously, that's one of the key roles. And for the clapper loader, he's changing the memory cards, he's clapping the sticks to do the takes. For Isaac, he's doing the monitors, he's doing the batteries, etc. So obviously those skills you have to master as well. But again, I think they're almost secondary to the teamwork side of everything.
Like when I see, especially with the focus pulling stuff, like the amount of preempting and stuff that all assisting roles have to do is like you essentially are being paid to make sure that nothing messes up with the role that you're assisting. Like that is your job. Like you are, if something goes wrong at the end of the day, you should have thought about that. But
Yeah.
The best focus pullers, though, the reason why I like working with Devon as well is because not only is it all of that technical stuff, but the reason why I always work with filmmakers rather than technicians is because a technician can do the job just as well. Sometimes they could even be a little bit technically better, but I'd always rather work with a filmmaker because Devon will do something like, we're rolling with it. The director wants to roll with it. There's an energy. The actor is on a roll, and you just keep rolling. Just get this. So you keep rolling, you get it. And now, as a camera operator coming from documentary, where I actually had control of the focus, and it's such a pivotal part of storytelling, like where the focus plane is. Like Evan will also have an intuition with me to put the focus in the right place. Because when you're working at like a really wide open aperture and the focus plane is like the nose is in focus, the eye is out, sometimes you have to make a decision like which eye should be in focus. And if you get it wrong, it can be a problem. And sometimes he'll say to me, are you sure about that? Like, what about if it should be this eye? And like, we always debate about that. But it's good because you need someone who's thinking about these things, like has a creative brain on it as well, rather than just purely a technical brain. And there is like a synthesis between the two where technical sort of know-how meets that. Like there's a certain level where technicality, it's like being an artist, right? And understanding like thirds and all of these things. Some people intuitively, naturally understand those things, and other people have to learn them. So you can learn how to be creative as well. But when someone's naturally creative and naturally technical, for me, it just makes them way more of a filmmaker.
It's also the last few years, I've definitely, so many people I say, oh, what do you do? I'm a focus puller. They'll be like, what is that? Like surely the camera's smart enough to do that by itself, right? But as you say, that like in some situations, the difference can be so slight, and it psychologically will have a big difference on the viewer. A
camera can never like choose, like giving it all to the camera wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, it can, but as in the choice of when it happens, and also the speed of the change, like the moment it changes back, or all these different things, you know, can affect, you know, the viewer. And obviously in a scene where you're shooting, as Bani said, with a wide open lens and the focus, all the background is super out of focus, and you're really sharply focused on someone's eye or their nose or anything, then I say the smallest difference can make a huge difference. So people say it's like an art, focus pulling, but I mean, I don't get quite that spiritual about it. But yeah, it's definitely something that's very misunderstood by a lot of people, but can have a huge impact.
Of course, yeah. Okay, so going on to Isaac. So while you were on set, what were there any lessons or like teachings that you picked up working with Bani and Devon that you kind of remember and hold?
I feel like the number one thing that I've learned from Bani and Devon and Andre would be, when you're part of the camera team, organization, keeping track of things, and just like knowing what you're doing, when you're doing it, and where you're about to go and put things and like organize things. Like that's the most important. Like organization, just knowing what you're doing is essential. Like I know it's a simple thing, but when it comes down to it and you've got all this different camera equipment and all these different batteries, all these different wires, like just simply knowing where things go and when to change batteries and where you're going to put a monitor and where is the lens box type thing. All of these things like are really essential and can help the flow of the set, because like if you're running halfway across the set to go and grab the lenses, or you're got the monitor on another side of the whole building and then they're filming at the other side of the building, that can slow down like the filming process and everything. So literally just organization. That's the number one thing I feel like I've taken on from them.
I think as well it's worth mentioning that obviously, you know, not to say that like time is money, but in filmmaking, sometimes every second counts, right? Even with the sun is going to go behind the building and you're going to lose the shot, or the talent's got to leave because they've got another thing to do, or the whatever reason, you know, normally it's the sun setting, but every second counts, right? And so it's super important, you know, every cable has a place, every bit of kit has its right place, so that, you know, if I say to Andre, go grab this, he knows which pocket it's in, this is labeled, that's labeled, you know, because one day he might not be there, Isaac might be in the toilet, I might be in the toilet, whatever. And if the thing is not where it's supposed to be, you could be losing valuable minutes on the shooting day, you know. And it's funny, so often we shoot right to the wire, or the sun is just setting, you're losing the light, and every second really does count. So yeah.
I'm going to quickly open up to some audience questions. So we have one from Dawood Naseem. So who are your favorite DOPs that you've personally worked with, and why? So whoever wants to take that one.
Devin or Isaac, because I don't, well, actually I can say a couple of, because sometimes I have like second unit, or I have friends, or just people that I appreciate. So I can say, like, for example, one DOP who I really admire, because I'm one of them people who, like, with music and with filmmaking and with anything creative, I have to kind of like know who the person is making it. And like, so if I hear music and I don't like the person, I won't listen to their music. So same with film. Like, if there's a certain director and they like are known for being like disgusting to crew, or they're like, don't get me wrong, I can still like, a lot of them, I already watched their films over the years and I love those films, but I don't respect them. So I'll never like speak about them in an admirable way. So DPs that I admire and I absolutely love their work. People, I went to film school with a guy called Adam Scarf. He came to Africa with me and shot a documentary with me, stayed in my family home in Gambia, proper took to the culture. And I don't eat meat. So when we went to people's houses and they offered us food, you can't say no, it's too rude. So I would like slip Adam and be like, yo, eat all this meat. Like, and so he would eat both our food and kept kept me out of trouble. So I never forget people like that. And his work, you can watch like the latest season of Top Boy. You can watch a movie called Daphne. Like, check out Adam Scarf on IMDb. His commercial work is stunning as well. And oftentimes he's the first person to do something, and he'll employ a technique in his cinematography, and then someone else will do it later with maybe a bigger budget and get a lot more recognition for the techniques that he's employed so beautifully. But the project just didn't get the recognition where people could see his work. And now maybe this other person's worked with a bigger director or a bigger brand or whatever. But Adam's, he's a trendsetter. He's an honest filmmaker, like in his actual work itself. He's from Newcastle, and his work is beautiful. And so I worked with him when I was a director. Also, Justin Brown, he's another DP that I really admire his work. As a director, he DP'd for me. He shot one of my first short films at our film school. Now he's won loads of, sort of like, he's massive now. He does really, really, really big stuff. These guys are both very slightly younger than me, but at the same time, they're kind of mentors as well, because they were always DPs before film school. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. While I was a director, they were DPing since they were teenagers. So even though they're younger than me, they're kind of mentors. And then honorable shout out as well to Felix Sheminsky, because he was second unit DP on this, and he did a really, really great job. And like, if you like really interesting images, follow him on Instagram as well, because he just takes pictures of the most obscure stuff and makes it look interesting. So I really liked working with him. And then lastly, there's a young woman called Anna McDonald, and she did, I shot a show called Big Age for Channel 4 with Devon as well. And due to like certain lockdowns and COVID situations and whatever, I had to go on to another project and I couldn't shoot the last 2 days, which was kind of heartbreaking. But she had a relationship with the director, Nosa. She took over and she really kept true to the show, really kept true to the look, totally smashed it. So Anna McDonald as well. Those are 3 people that are sort of in the game. Not the obvious choices like Roger Deakins or, Storaro, or these massive, massive names. Obviously, they're amazing, but these are more like young filmmakers who I admire.
I'm definitely going to be checking some of those out. Definitely some names I haven't heard of. Okay, so Devon, what are you saying? Who's some of the favorites that you've worked with?
I know, I've worked with so many DPs. I'll say Bani. No, who comes to another DP who's a very good friend of mine, much like Bani, is Jan Vrhovnik. So it's Vrhovnik. He's from Slovenia, but he works in London, and I've done a lot of commercials with him. And I think that the same as with Bani, you know, obviously in these kind of jobs, you spend a lot of time, you know, side by side. So you kind of want to find good people who you enjoy spending time with, and you grow together, kind of thing. Because you know, if you're going to spend weeks standing beside someone, you know, if you're not enjoying it, then there's no point, you know. So yeah, Jan, much like Bani, we've learned a lot, and we've shot together a lot. And as you say, that's, you know, they're the kind of jobs you want to try and find. You know, don't try and chase the money. You want to try and, you know, find the good people who you push each other to develop, and I think in the long run, you know, you'll go much further. I think who else? Oh, so many people over the years. That's one of the best things about film is that the variety is there if you want it. So I do music videos, commercials, TV, feature films, you know, corporate, anything, you know, with different people all the time. I'm not just, you know, sat at a desk in one room every day of the week, you know. So yeah, there's too many names to shout out, but yeah, Jan will definitely be one to mention for sure.
And Isaac, if you got some
I'm kind of
in there.
Yes, but I'm kind of the opposite of these guys because I'm quite new to the industry and everything. I haven't worked with that many DPs, but straight away I'm gonna have to shout out Bani because like he's just a mad inspiration. He's helped me out so much. Like with someone who aspires to be a DP myself, like I've learned a lot from him. And then on top of that, another DP who I'm forever grateful, he gave me my first like proper camera trainee job, Lorenzo Livrini. Like he's a proper nice guy once again, always up for like just helping and explaining stuff. I remember my first time going on a music video with him. He actually met me the day before and like he broke down the whole lighting plan and the equipment list and everything, and like just like really helped me out and guided me, which I feel like is something he didn't have to do, because quite often you join the set and you're expected to like kind of grasp a few things, but like he really went out his way. And then once again, Felix on PRU, he was so nice. Like I remember some second unit stuff when I was helping him out. He was just the most chill guy, but very helpful at the same time. Anytime like I didn't know what I was doing, he'd be like, he didn't have to type thing, but he'd go out his way and just like help me out. So yeah, those three people.
No, those are some really sick names, especially this guy called Bani. Bani's a really good DP, I think. Okay, so we've got another question, which is, what was your first films where you, as a DP / camera assistant? So it's another open question, I think.
First films, what do you mean?
I think it's the first films where you had the role, like the title of being a DP / camera assistant.
That's a tough one. I don't know. I've done so many jobs. I couldn't even tell you, you know. I think I started out in music videos, so it would have been music videos. I can't remember what my first job ever was. I think it was a music video. I'm not even sure. Couldn't even tell you. But I think it was a music video, yeah. I think it was a music video for a friend of mine called Cordelia. She was the DP. She's at the NFTS now doing the master's course, so shout out Cordelia. And it was for an artist called MYM, who's still, this is only 3 or 4 years ago. And we were shooting at the director's friend's house, like out in the countryside somewhere. And like we went the night before and set up, and then we all slept on the floor. Like me and the focus puller slept on the floor of this living room. And yeah, it was proper budget. And like we wanted this is one of my first crazy things on set, was we wanted to put an HMI on the second store out the window. And basically they couldn't work out what they wanted to do. And I was like, I've got an idea. And because I'd just been working at the rental house, so I'd been playing with the kit, and I put a C-stand. No one do this. I put a C-stand with a flag arm, and basically put the flag arm pointing straight up, and then put the C-stand to the top, and I had the HMI on the top of that. So this HMI, so this HMI was for a like a first
just on a little flagpole.
On a flag arm on a C-stand, yeah. And
yeah, that's
so yeah, very dangerous. Don't do that. But yeah, that was my first ever job. In like traditional film.
Okay, his ideas have improved since then, by the way. He's got good ideas now that don't risk lives.
It worked. Dangerous.
Okay, so Bani, do you remember your first like big film where you were a DP?
Well, like, okay, so what I'll do is like, because I shot a lot of stuff for years, ever since I was a kid, obviously. But one of the first times that someone else was a direct, rather than like me directing it and DPing it and kind of doing everything myself. Wait, before I answer this question, I think there's something really important to say based on what Devin just said, and I thought it earlier as well, so I'm going to quickly say it, which is like, now, and it's weird coming from me because I will always look after young crew members to the max, and I'll always try and make sure that they get money, they get lessons, they get, you know, all of the things that I think they should get, to the point where like if I'm ever working on a job, even if it's a passion project, and I say I'm going to do this for free, because I know how hard it was to get into the industry when I was younger, and coming from a situation where, you know, there's no bank of mum and dad or whatever you want to call it and whatnot. So saying to a young person like, oh yeah, you got this opportunity, but like just come for free, but they literally cannot afford the train fare to anywhere and to feed them, like, so it's peak. So you're offering someone an opportunity, and then they might not show up, and then you might say, oh, they're so unreliable, but really you just didn't have the foresight to ask them like, oh, are you okay? Like you might need to send them 20 quid before the shoot rather than telling them to invoice later or something. So I personally will always do that, but at the same time I've walked miles because I didn't have that to go to a shoot, or like literally rode a bike or whatever, like any means necessary. So I just want to quickly say, like, to young filmmakers, when I was coming up, because I'm 36 now, so that was ages ago. So like, even when I was at film school and before that, to get opportunities, I would do anything, like whatever it was. And I've done 100 jobs for free and worked 50 hours in a row before, like on projects. So like, although that's not good practice and the industry is changing and we need to look after people and blah, 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 blah. If you really want to like really do it, then like you need to put your energy, your everything into that. So like, as much as I won't do that to a young person and whatever, like when you get opportunities, you have to take them with both hands and smash it and never make an excuse. Don't be late, be 15 minutes early minimum, which means that if you're someone who, you know, you're always just on time, like there's no room for error there. Like I do the school run whenever I'm not working with my daughter. And every day I see the same parents that are late. As I'm leaving, they're running down the road. And I think, how can you do this every day? All you need to do is add 10 minutes to your morning. Like you're an adult teaching your kid that this is okay. Like, it's just mad to me. It doesn't make any sense. Just like sort your life out. And I'm saying that as someone who grew up with nothing and didn't have certain opportunities. And so I'm not saying sort your life out in that sense, but I'm saying like, take some ownership. Like discipline equals freedom. Like you need to take extreme ownership of your life. Don't blame everyone, even though like it might not be your fault, your situation. If you really want to elevate and you really want to step up and you really want to make something happen, you have to take extreme ownership. Whatever happens, it's your fault. Don't blame no one else, because by blaming other people, all you're literally going to do is just like be a victim, and that doesn't help you. So like you have to take ownership. So when Devon's saying like, oh yeah, I slept on the floor and then we did this by any means necessary. Look, that DP now, I met her at BSC show. You introduced me to her, right? She was really nice. Cordelia. Yeah, now look, she's at BSC. How did she get in there? She obviously has some kind of a reel. How did she get that reel? She got people that really believed in film, flipping stuck a HMI on the end of a C-stand and shot this music video. She's built her reel. Like, you got to do whatever it takes. So I just needed to say that, because a lot of young people that I meet these days, they're just literally like looking up at the sky, waiting for the opportunities to rain on their head. And then all that's going to happen is they're going to get older and older and older. And the only thing that's going to come is a slap, like reality, like wake up, get a job because you missed it. You can't be a filmmaker now, it's too late. Like you got to be on it. So anyway, the first time I started working with a director, and shooting for them was actually really Teddy. Really, it was Teddy, because I was a director, he was a director. We were both shooting music videos. We had mutual friends, but we have a mutual friend who's actually, this is another cinematographer that I massively admire. His name's Aaron Reed. He's from South London.
Okay.
And he traveled around Europe with me shooting. And he put in graft, like people don't even know. Like now he's like BAFTA crew, he's with Wizzo and Co. He's shooting Ratman's new series for Netflix. He shot Adulthood. He's shot loads of stuff. Some of his work is so beautiful, but people don't know, like he was out here doing whatever. Like he will come and shoot a music video for me on a DSLR sometimes, and he just had faith in me and in the collaborators that we were working with. And he put in work. Like he's an inspiration, Aaron Reed. And sorry, my daughter was knocking on the door. And he said to Teddy to work with me when I was first becoming a DP. And he knew that I knew some stuff because we've worked together a lot. So he recommended me to Teddy. And then Teddy and I ended up having mutual friends as well. We started working together and we shot little projects like for the Amy Winehouse Foundation, Why Stop. We started shooting Deep It, Nadia, all of these short films that are on MYM. And those films were all shot on DSLRs, like little Canons, little Sonys. We shot all of those films. I was focus pulling on a lot of them. We had no crew, no money, like £5,000 budget, £2,000 budget, nothing. But Teddy and I both shared love and vision for film. And so he's the first person who really like collaborated with me as a DP. And that's why, you know, we're still such close friends to this day, because of that trust and that bond that we've built through just outside of film as well, but through just going into these trenches together time after time and having each other's back.
I mean, I had no clue that film, like when you started with Teddy, that's really interesting. Like
as a DP, yeah.
As a DP, yeah. Like, and I had no clue like stuff like Nadia and stuff was done at such a low budget, but there's some of the best work on FF where it's reached so many people have seen those movies that we put out, and it's just done on such a low budget. That's an amazing just like memento to what hard work can really do.
That was the first time we worked with Alex Tenenbaum. He wrote Nadia and he wrote Eviction, which we did with Coyote, who was who had his own stuff going on. He's just a great talent. I hope to see him doing loads of stuff soon. He's got Enterprise on BBC, the comedy. And that was the first time we worked with Alex, and then Alex obviously ended up writing PRU.
No, that's mad. Okay, there's a couple more audience questions have just come in.
Okay. Come from that, another bloody ambulance. Another good bit of advice is like, you know, you kind of got to be up for anything, because, you know, even if almost somewhat humble as well, because the odd like sparking job, like working in the lighting department, which I had no interest in doing, but I would only do it because, you know, one, it helps you pay your rent, but two, you can get on the job and meet all the camera department, you know, so little things like that. Never, like, if you can, try not to ever turn down opportunities, because like you never know what's going to lead to something else. You know, by being the spark, I had time to speak to the camera department and get jobs off them in the future. You know, putting your face to the name is almost just as important as sending someone your CV, because even like today, people send me CVs all the time. People say, oh, if you ever need an assistant, let me know, like asking for work all the time. But if I've actually met some person, that's going to have way more impact than it is just being sent a cold email or a cold message. So just getting on set as much as possible is definitely a good bit of advice. And yeah, even if you think you're a DOP or want to be DOP, you've got to be humble enough to do camera trainee jobs, you know, like Isaac is doing, because as much as you think you're God's gift to the world, like you still have a lot to learn. And also there's value in being a trainee, you know, working under more experienced people. You know, that's part of the reason why I'm still assisting now and not, you know, operating and stuff, is because, you know, working underneath other operators, I'm going to learn more than if I just start doing it myself, you know. And as you say, like, even if you want to be a DOP working as an assistant, you can get your rent covered and then spend the rest of your energy on you know, learning your craft as a DP.
What Devon's saying is super important, because it allows you to be like adjacent to where you're trying to get to. So like you can either go and work in a bar or a pub or do whatever at, like as a part-time job, or you can like drop the ego and you can do whatever job on a film set, because then at least you're in that world. So you're actually learning skills that are going to go towards your end goals, rather than sort of like, don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with bar work and whatever other part-time job you can do. But the more you're on a film set, the more people you meet that open up relationships. So you're just soaking up stuff that's super useful. So that's actually really, really crucial.
Same thing as you, doing the locations, doing anything, just you're in and around it, right?
Yeah, that's any job that I can get.
Yeah, they're just
you're
right.
lucky, like,
you can pay your bills and you can have the stability you need, because being freelance is not an easy game. So you got to have.
I've only just the past couple of months gone into freelance fully, and yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. But I totally also get the humble thing. Like, you've got a lot of people coming out of university, and just because they've gotten this dissertation that says that they are a DP, they're not. You need to be able to work on set and understand how like the craft works on set. Just because you've gone to your lectures and stuff doesn't necessarily mean you are actually a DP. Like, you need, that's kind of my viewpoint with university and stuff. Is like, I feel like film for me was a very experiencing thing. Like, I want to experience more, and then I might go to uni in a bit later. But yeah, one of the other questions is, do you guys think there's going to be a PRU season 2? What are we saying about that?
I hope so. If
BBC allow it.
You never know. Yeah,
They've got to allow it, surely.
That's one thing I've also learned, which is somewhat of a sobering idea, is that I don't like to think too far ahead and get too attached to things, because, as you know, in this world, things come and go in a moment. So I try and, I guess, live in the moment. It's not really the right word, but I try and just focus on what's happening now. And yeah, if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. Because as you say, so many dream jobs come, and then COVID or this and that, So, or the other thing, you have nothing in the calendar, and then you get a phone call, and that's it. You got a dream job, So I try not to think too far ahead. But obviously, getting the team back together, Teddy and that, they're all amazing people. The whole thing, production designers, the people who work in production, shout out Omar, who's doing COVID stuff on the job. Everyone from top to bottom, it was great energy.
It felt like such a close-knit set. Like, everyone knew exactly who everyone was. Like, it felt like, I at times it felt like a kind of school environment at times, like, where everyone was having that kind of banter with each other, and it was a really powerful set to be on, for sure.
The thing about PRU, you have to remember, like, at the heart of PRU is like, you make people laugh to soften the blow of like some actual like serious issues as well. All real comedy has tragedy at the heart of it. Like, comedy for the sake of comedy is great, like, don't get me wrong, like, but I'm not interested in that. Like, I wouldn't just shoot a comedy that's a comedy for being a comedy. And I mean that to the point where I've turned down shoots because that's not for me. Like, PRU, at the heart of it, remember, Teddy worked in PRUs for years. I worked in PRU full time teaching film, as an access gateway into back into education. Alex and Nathaniel, the writers, both work in education. Like, 2 of the cast went to a PRU, so like main cast. One at the one I used to teach at. So it's like, it's really an important show. It's not just about the laughs. And so, if there's going to be another season, I don't know. We were really happy to go from the pilot to season 1. That was great. Yeah. But one thing is for sure, like, the stories that MYM tell, driven by the people at MYM, like all of like you guys, and all of the, the young team and the older team, obviously people like Teddy, these kind of important stories will definitely 100% continue to be told by the right people, by Fully Focused, with various DPs, various directors, various creative teams. But obviously, fingers crossed, I would absolutely love to delve into those characters again and go deeper and go funnier as well. So who knows? But like that's beyond our remit as camera team. Like we're not really that involved in those types of decisions.
Sure. I mean, so this is a question I did have, was actually coming from PRU being a pilot that you shot and then to now be in season 1 on BBC Three. What did you notice some changes with BBC kind of taking it on, or like what were some key like differences between the pilot, how you envisioned it back then to now?
The whole thing was BBC.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
The pilot as well. They funded the pilot. They fully funded the pilot. So, but to be fair, you know, growing up, how I grew up, where I grew up, people like the BBC are villainized, right? They just are. As an organization, as a mass organization, more to do with the news, more to do with the things that they've, in certain departments, brushed under the carpet, let's be real. But BBC Three and BBC in terms of like these creative people in these creative arms of the BBC, from what I know from speaking to the rest of the team and from my personal experience, they were brilliant the whole way. Like they were super supportive, really cool. They left us to it a lot. The input that they did have was useful input, not just for the sake of having their voice heard. They were really supportive, really cool. And it was just a really enjoyable experience working with them, really, to be honest.
No, and the fact that BBC Three is now back after its little hiatus period now, like we've had old series like Fresh Meat and all that, but now we're the kind of new PRU's the new generation of all that. Like that must feel quite amazing to have your work be that kind of thing. That because back when I was watching BBC Three back in the day, like those were the shows I'd be watching and kind of taking my references from and just absorbing myself in those. So I think it's really cool to be able to see that it's now kind of come back and PRU's taking on that kind of role for like young people. Okay, let's go to Isaac. So what was your okay, what was your hands down most favorite moment when you were on set? Like just anything.
I don't know if I have a specific favorite moment, to be quite fair. Like the whole experience was really dope. Like working with the whole camera team was sick. Like everyone from the second to the DP was just amazing. So I wouldn't say there's a specific moment, but the whole process of working with Andre, Devon, and Bani was just amazing, and like it was a real insightful experience, and just being able to be a part of it and learn from the more experienced peers was just my favorite moment. So just being there, to be fair. Yeah, I don't have a specific date or time. Like, yeah.
And for you guys, like, what was kind of your like? Do you have any kind of key like things that just happened that was like that's pretty jokes, or like just what kind of stood out for you in the whole time you were working on PRU?
You know what? I think there was too many moments. The cast were just hilarious. Like, is it Richard who is the inspector?
Yeah.
He was
hilarious. Campbell.
Yeah, he was amazing. Obviously all the core cast. Shout out Halil, Pia, Michael, and Ketch. All of them, even Hannah and Tom. Everyone, top to bottom, was just so their role. Like, times I couldn't even see them as a real person because I just saw the character. But I hope that the show shows it. But the whole time, people were just laughing their heads off. Yeah, as you say, it's hard to pick. There's too many funny moments.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I could say a couple of moments because watching the young cast specifically coming from the pilot, because none of them really are like established actors. Ketch was in Top Boy recently. She had a nice part in that. Obviously, Michael does Instagram and online. He's a big personality, but he never really professionally acted. Obviously, Jay as Halil. This is his first big thing, like repping his Turkish culture as well. And then Pia as well, who was at the PRU I used to teach at. So I know a lot of her teachers, like are my mates, and like her getting that role is just amazing. So watching them on set and just watching them grow as actors as well, and grow in confidence and growing into their role, and just sort of just being around them is quite infectious, like on a daily basis. But then being with like these seasoned, like really, you know, grown actors as well, like Tom Mucci and Hannah Waters, like in that pub scene, I had a great time. That's secretly my favorite thing about my job. I love being that close to the magic. Like, not everyone can be there. That is what I love, like being at the front in a theater and just being immersed into something. But then there's like a stage between me and but like with the camera, it's like a private window into like another universe where like magic is happening, like, and I'm just looking through this viewfinder, and it's just like I'm so connected to the scene. And so you got to be very careful with your energy as well, because you're so close to it. So you've really got to try and like have, you know, a rapport with these people. And Tom is just a legend anyway. Like, he's like, I just love Tom. I always wind him up, like, but because he winds me up because he's such a wind up. But the banter and like the energy coming from him and Hannah is just unbelievable as a person, as an actor, same as Tom. So just being around these people is kind of a privilege and just such an enjoyable experience. Hannah twerking on Tom in the pub didn't make it into the edit. Absolutely, hands down, one of my favorite moments. She just throws these wild card things out of nowhere and just makes you. I nearly got the camera a few times laughing. Like, certain things were so funny. I was like, oh my God, I can't laugh because the camera's going to shake. Damn, what am I going to do? And I'm literally like, you know, when you're trying to hold in a cough, like at like really importantly, like imagine like you're at a funeral and the mum is speaking and you cannot cough because it's such a moment. Like, that's how it is being on camera, and like a magic is happening on set and you cannot cough. It's like that. And so yeah, she done that to me too much. Tom done that to me too much. Halil done that to me too much. That guy, he improvised one scene. The camera was shaking because he literally improvised in the canteen, and I'm not even gonna say what he did.
Oh, what race? Like,
yeah, the canteen scene was jokes.
The canteen scene killed me. Killed me. And another highlight for me as well was when everyone was freezing. I wasn't, because sometimes I take Devon's advice and I go way over the top. And we've got all the gear before we ever had an idea. So we're never really cold. We're dressed for Everest, but other people aren't. So on the rooftop, when everyone was absolutely dying and freezing and in the woods and stuff, Teddy would just come out of nowhere and just bring some energy and just warm everyone back up with some crazy like tunes, or he would just run around with his speaker, dancing to ragga or like whatever. So those are the kind of things that I really enjoyed.
I forget, who was it that was always wearing like shorts, like jean shorts, and just barely anything in the most cold, no matter the weather.
That was art department.
No, was it Ben or was it?
I think it might have been Ben.
Ben does that as well.
No, it was art department guy. Yeah, Sam or
whoever. Props to them for being able to pull that off, no matter the day. Just wow.
Ben was like, and then he got COVID, and when he came back, he was wearing jeans. It changed.
Okay, that keep it the same. Okay, so I want to quickly go back to when you were talking about Teddy and you working with him. How was it working quite closely with Teddy on PRU?
Well, that's a long time partnership. So on this, the difference was it was the first time we came back to something, and the challenge was, how do we make this new, but stay true to what we've already created. And rather than thinking, oh, let's just reinvent it. Like, no, we like what we did last time. Let's enhance it and add to it. And so it was all about that. So a lot of the work had already been done. So then we were able to go into the nuance of it more. And more of the visual psychology this time, like where the camera should be, how the camera should move. Should it be on sticks? Should it be handheld? Should it be, on sort of a steady device? And it was really going deeper into that. And then we were doing a few things for the first time, like certain stunts. And just the scale of it, like the sheer schedule was like, sort of 28 days, which ended up being more like 32 days, just back to back to back to back to back. It ended up getting broken up a bit because of lockdown and stuff. But the sort of like seriousness of that schedule and what that meant energy-wise meant that, like, because Teddy's very supportive as a director, more than like just what you're shooting. He'll just be like, oh, do you want a ginger shot? Like if he sees your energy dip or whatever, he'll just come out of nowhere with like, oh, do you want a ginger and turmeric shot? Or do you want a square of this chocolate? Give you some energy, like. Or he's just like, he looks out for his people, like his team. So working with Teddy is just like, to be honest, it's fun. It's challenging because he always wants the absolute maximum that we can get out of anything from himself. He demands the most from himself. So everyone who he works with, obviously, he wants them to do the same. And you'll never like be left wanting from him. Like he leaves it on the floor. Like he leaves it on set. He doesn't leave with anything. So like when you work with Teddy, it's like it's a given that everyone just has to go hard. And because he does that himself, there's no contradiction or conflict. It's easy because he's essentially the leader as a director. He's leading that set. And so, he takes that seriously. And you got to remember, like, he has put his whole life into this. Like, before he had kids, he probably started a family late because he was building FF and because he cared so much about his career. So he made a lot of sacrifices. So a lot is on the line. So I have a lot of responsibility to, help him achieve his goals as well through doing my job to the best of my ability. So it's a serious thing, but it's also a fun thing.
You know what? I think one thing I think is very special about Teddy, shout out Teddy, is I feel like he did it more than once, but definitely at the start of the job, is he got everyone together in a big circle around the car park out the back. We all stand around like no 2-man deep, you're one side by side, and gets everyone to say their name, what they're doing. So like everyone's on first name terms, and then we have a little sing song, energy me, energy you, energy PRU, and he brings the energy, brings the vibe, sets the tone for the whole dynamic of the whole ecosystem of the job. And I've never seen that before from anyone else other than on jobs with Teddy. But it's a special thing for sure, and I think it makes a huge difference. No one's hiding in the corner. No one's like doesn't know. Everyone knows who each other is and whatnot. And that definitely has an impact on the end result for sure.
No, big shout out to Teddy. Honestly, like that. I don't think it would have been anywhere near as easy to just get through those days without just having just that ball of energy. Like how he was keeping the energy for himself, I'll have no clue. But
a lot of people have all the talk here, but they don't back it up. Like they'll say like, oh, I believe in diversity on set. Oh, I believe in this. Oh, I believe in that. They'll even be doing panel talks on it and like big things and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but then go to their set, look around, like feel the energy, feel the pressure. Who are they under pressure? Like, pressure reveals true character. Like, who are you under pressure? Like, what is your true character now? So like I've been in the highest pressure situations with Teddy, like highest pressure that we put on ourselves because we take it so seriously. But then at the same time, if you look around, sometimes that pressure is because the crew is all teenagers because he said he was going to give them an opportunity and he actually did. So now we've added pressure, we put ourselves in this mad situation. But at the end of it, it's beautiful and it's worth it because look around.
It's a precedent that needs to be kept. Like the fact that this is now a BBC thing, I think BBC need to learn from this and actually allow the way that Teddy runs sets to carry through, just allow these kind of opportunities for young people and allow that energy just to be the new thing that is for sets. Like that should be the standard on sets. I think. So another open question for everyone from the audience is, have you guys had to turn any jobs down, and what is like the reason you would turn a job down?
Turn a job, what do you mean? Like just in general?
I believe so. It doesn't.
Yeah, of course. Like, you know, I mean, generally in the freelance world, there's no, it's not a straight path. You know, things happen, different things happen. COVID was a big one for a lot of jobs. Even on this job, we had a lot of struggles with COVID. But yeah, and I think obviously at first you're trying to get on set as much as possible. But as you progress, I feel like you definitely have to pick and choose somewhat, because you know you only have a certain amount of energy to give. You know, and I can't remember who said it, but someone definitely told me once that you're better off turning down a short film or something if you're not going to give it the right energy. You're better off to not take the job, you know, because if you bring bad energy, you ruin the whole job.
And someone else with the energy could take that job and do it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But you have to, yeah. It's a struggle. Obviously, like when you start out, you're taking everything. You want to do as much as possible, but then you'll reach a point where you can't give 110% to everything, and that's when you have to start, saying no and saying yes and whatnot. For financial reasons, for energy reasons, for whatnot, and also there's so many reasons why you say yes to a job. The people that you're going to work with, what the job is shooting, who the subject of the film is, or the commercial or whatnot. You know, whether the dates work. There's so many factors you have to, you know, juggle with every job. But yeah, it's.
Has there been a specific one that you've turned down and was like, oh, I really, really wish I could have taken it?
You have to realise, obviously, there's always situations like that where, and it hurts because you're like, oh, I really wanted that. But you never know what's going to happen. So many times I've had a job that's happening this and that, and then it doesn't happen and something better comes along. Or the other one, you miss out on a job and then actually find out that the job went terribly or it was a horrible job for them or whatnot. You know, you never know what's going to happen, or you miss out on the job you really, really wanted, and then you do another little short film or something that's super low budget and you think it's going to be rubbish, and actually meet someone, and then meeting that person takes you onto 1,000 other jobs, you know, meet a friend for life or whatever, you know. So you can never really predict. And that's the other thing I was saying earlier about I never like to think too far ahead, because if you get attached to something until I'm actually on set, I don't get attached to any job, because again, they come and they go. They can come as just as fast as they go. One phone call can equal loads of days of work and loads of money, and one phone call can lose you loads of days of work and loads of money. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting industry for sure.
And Bani, what's your take on that? Have you had to turn any jobs down that you
like with turning down jobs? Yeah, what happens is like Devon just said, right, at first you do everything because you need experience. Like that whole 10,000 hour thing is overused, but it's kind of true. And so as a cinematographer, how do you get 10,000 hours if you're not on set with a crew? Of course you can go and shoot birds out your window or go to the park. And I even advise that, like, go and shoot as much as you can. You don't need people. Just go and shoot cutaways. Become the absolute master of working with sunlight, shooting cutaways. Because then when you have to do that as a second unit DP on a bigger DP shoot, and they say, can you go and shoot these plates for me? Guess what? You're so practiced that you're going to blow them away, and they're going to call you next time. So do that as well. But however, you as a DP, like who's like me, where you want to be on set with actors and so close to the action, you have to really like develop those skills of how to follow a person, how to be intuitive. A lot of that luckily came from documentary, and as a director, like I said, I was still an operator, so I had a lot of that coming into it. But so yeah, you do as much as you possibly can, and then you get to a stage where I've only got to fairly recently, last couple of years, where you got to be careful. And I turned down more jobs than I can financially afford to, because I didn't take this career path. Like I had a really good job, like that paid me loads, and I could have been on a lot more money and struggled way less. But I really wanted to do this. So now I remind myself every morning, like when I do my like gratitude, and I say to myself, you know, I'm grateful for the journey. I'm grateful for the struggle. When this is over and everything is, you know, and the only struggle is the art, that's a great place to be. And I'm slowly getting to that point now. And I remind myself of that. But now the problem is you say yes to something because you really like it, right? And then for various reasons, sometimes dates get pushed back, dates get mixed around. So you say yes, you sign a contract now, right? So I'm on a project now that I'm hoping Devon's going to be with me in Wales. Isaac, I'm going to call you as well. There's opportunities for you on it if you're about. And so I said yes to that project. And don't get me wrong, I really want to do this project. But it's a 10-week commitment, but it's over like 16 weeks, which means that when someone else calls me, like literally, I got a text when we were on Zoom asking me, can I shoot this BBC drama from a producer? And what's my availability? A lady that I've worked with before on something, and she's really cool. And I had to tell her my availability, and she's like, oh man, I wish you could have done it, blah, 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 blah. So like when you say yes to something, you really do have to like it, because that's the fourth big thing that I've had to say I can't do. There was a Netflix thing, there was a Channel 4 thing, there was this, and then there was something else over in Africa that I would have loved to do. But I have to be comfortable and confident in my decision that, listen, I'm true to my word. I chose this job. I'm not even going to hear that noise. I'm not even going to hear that traffic. I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm driving, you know, a Volvo right now. I'm not driving a Lamborghini or whatever. Not that I want a Lamborghini, but so you just got to stay in your lane. You know what I mean? Stay at your speed and just be true to your decisions. Don't try and race the Lamborghini. Don't try and jump out on the motorway into that other car and abandon your car. And then you never know where that's going to careen off and crash. You might not even make it into the Lamborghini. Next thing you get run over. So for me, it's all about loyalty. Like once I say yes, I mean it. I don't jump off jobs and stuff. And sometimes that's very painful and I've had to struggle for it. But when people have done it to me, it's really messed me up in the past as a director. And so I don't jump around jobs. I say yes and I mean it and I do it. So yeah, I have to turn down jobs mostly because of schedule more than not wanting to do it. But when it's working with certain people who I don't fundamentally agree with, or I just really don't like the script, then I don't do that either too. Like certain brands, I don't do commercials.
Yeah, sure. Like trying to do like imagine doing a Nestle commercial, like that.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And that is in massive conflict with people that I work with and people that obviously, you know, are working. Yeah, it's complicated, but yeah, I turn down a lot of that stuff. Look on my website.
Really, as a creative, it's important to have your like what your limits, like with what you're okay and what you deem as socially acceptable for you to film. Like there's a lot of people out there that I'm sure would probably take literally anything and they don't really care about the social aspect of that.
Yeah, I'm a contradiction as well, because I'll wear you know, certain brands that I don't agree with. Or sometimes if I need something desperately quick, I'll order it off Amazon. But so like I'll drink rum and I'd make a rum commercial, but then I wouldn't make a commercial for certain other brands. So I'm a total contradiction, but at the same time, you got to be able to live with your own decisions.
No, sure. I mean, we're starting to come towards an end, so I've got one last question, which is kind of aimed towards Isaac, which is actually how I think a couple people want to know how they can join FF, and also just talk a little bit about how, like, the kind of things that you did to kind of get yourself into a little bit of a rhythm with work at the past couple of years.
Cool. So starting off with the question, I'd say follow the official MYM at Instagram, and then follow UK Fully Focused, and just look out for just all kinds of opportunities. Just go to the page and check it out on Instagram. So that's UK Fully Focused on Instagram, and that's official MYM. And then for me, kind of with momentum and stuff, like I said, I kind of started off by like shooting my own stuff, freestyles, some music videos, maybe short films, little short documentations. Then I started to just like hit up people on Instagram, because like social media is a massive tool nowadays, and there's so many people out there who are willing to help you. So like messaging people, maybe it's just advice. It can start from advice to larger questions, to maybe if you're just offering your services on set, asking to help out in any ways, like kind of what Devin was saying, and Bani too, about just being present on set is such a useful thing. Like I spent like last summer just location marshalling on TV series, trying to get my foot in the door with like camera department people and lighting people, so I can learn more. So just try and be present and try and be around and trying to be there, so people can see that you're willing and you're a hard-working person and someone who just wants to learn. So that's really the advice I would give, because that's kind of what I've been trying to do and I'm doing currently.
No, it's the exact same as kind of what I would like say. Like Instagram, honestly, is like such a great tool to just be able to message anyone, no matter where, like what level in the industry they're at. You will be most likely able to find their Instagram. Like that's how I've gone like so many jobs with different people. It's just, hey, really like your stuff. Is there an opportunity where you'd allow me to come help you, like BTS photos, videos, whatever you need? I'm there for you. Like
definitely. And like just create content, and like depending on what you want to do, create content, learn from your mistakes, share it with people, ask them to critique it. Don't be afraid of critique. Like that's the best place and best time you can learn, and just be like open to like learning and open to taking people's advice. And I feel like then you do those things, eventually it will slowly start to pay off.
And the reason why Isaac was the trainee on PRU isn't just because he asked to be. Like, if you want certain opportunities, then when you get that opportunity and your friends are all going to a party the night before, and you know call time is 6 a.m, you've got a decision to make, innit? So like, do you want to turn up and be half of yourself, or do you really want to represent? Like, how serious are you? Are you going to be there half an hour early? Are you going to go above and beyond? You know, like, are you going to say, guys, is everybody okay? Does anybody need some water? Like, look after people as humans, you know, look, like, be part of that crew, like, really make yourself indispensable. And so the reason why Isaac was training on PRU, and the reason why he came back so often, is because Devin said to me, oh yeah, Isaac's doing a really good job. Oh yeah, Isaac, he's learning quick. Yeah, he's going above and beyond. So it's like, as a DP, I know who's doing what. Like, just because you're the trainee doesn't mean that I'm not very aware of everything you're doing and like what your energy is. And like, I can tell if you've got sleep in your eye. Like, don't get me wrong, I know you could have mad circumstances, so I'm never going to judge that. But I might just chat to you and say to you, are you okay? Like, what happened? And if you say to me, oh, there was a mad party last night, I've just lost respect for you. I'm not interested. Like, I'm not calling you back.
That's very valid.
A bit of advice, I think, for Instagram. Instagram is great, and like, I used to send emails. I used to send Instagram DMs. I was all over it back in the day. But one bit of advice would be don't get disheartened, because I get so many messages all the time. I can't even keep up with them sometimes. And I remember a lot of people I used to message and you never get a reply. And so don't get disheartened by it, because a lot of it is timing, right? If you message someone, they're during a super busy shoot, or they're moving house, or whatever's going on, and people have got life happening, right? So if someone doesn't reply or you don't get anything, don't get disheartened by it, because all it takes is that one message where you catch someone in that right moment where they need something to say, or their friend was just spoke to them saying, I need a trainee, you know anyone, or whatever. And it's like, oh, this guy just rang me, bam, done. You know, it's all about, you know, and I think that's a really important thing.
The thing is, if you
with Instagram stories, is you can like forward a story. So much in film. I mean, when you start following all these people who work in film, you'll see posts all the time. Need a trainee on this date, need a focus puller on this date, need a so-and-so on this date. And for me to just go send, click the person's name, it's done. I don't have to write a text message, I don't have to ring someone. So it's easy for people to give each other work through Instagram. Sometimes if I need someone, I'll post it on there. If anyone comes to mind, or people I want to ask aren't available. So that's the other beauty. It's fast to give people jobs and share stories and stuff.
And there's accounts like at assisting work, which are always posting like jobs in film, like for hair, makeup, ACs, DPs, any of that kind of stuff. But like again, yeah, I used to get really disheartened when like I wouldn't get replies. But the thing that keeps me going is like, what if they say, yeah, come on set next on the next time I try and send them a message? Like you don't know what the next message will bring you. Like so you've got to just keep sending messages out, and then that's how you keep like kind of getting like opportunities and stuff. It's just keeping that kind of consistency.
I got a second that I've sent like 100,000 DMs. So yeah, don't get disheartened.
It's a daily grind. Like you've got to just keep going on it. Like if you see a DP's put out some really nice work, send them a message, like, and just develop a relationship. It can even just be like that you really like their work, like just so that they see that like your name is popping up in their DMs a lot. That even that is just a subconscious thing that I think is always very helpful. Right, I think we've run like 5 minutes over. But this was a really amazing like time to kind of chat to you, learn about what your experiences were with PRU, understanding like how you guys have come to where you are now, and just kind of being able to understand just about your jobs. It's been really, really good. Apparently because of the delay, the delay on she said so insightful, thank you. The delay on YouTube, that we've got to be talking for 30 seconds because it's alive. But
everybody do your best dance moves then.
All right.
Steve, dry.
I want the final moments to shout out all the crew of PRU, because even makeup, Jenna, everyone, top to bottom, they all deserve the shout out.
Big ups all PRU. Make sure everyone who's been watching this watch it on every Thursday, BBC iPlayer.
Watch on iPlayer right now. Just go right now and watch on iPlayer.
Right now. Binge all of it. Go watch all of PRU right now and watch it again, and just keep watching it. Just never stop.
So
put it on repeat and use different VPNs so it runs up the views. Like
exactly, yeah. We need from China, we need from Netherlands, we need it everywhere.
And if your parents work at BBC, let them know we want season 2.
Exactly. There we go. It was absolutely amazing talking to you guys. I hope to see you all very soon.